If you're enjoying the content and want to keep the good vibes going, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to stay updated with everything I'm sharing. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me create even more awesome videos for you. Plus, when you like this video, it really boosts my motivation and shows me what you love to see. So, if you're finding value in what I'm doing, take a second to subscribe and give that thumbs up. It's a small action that makes a huge difference. Let's keep this community growing together. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into the roots of anxiety, why our brain creates it, and how we can stop it. Anxiety is something we've all experienced, but did you know it's actually part of our brain's survival mechanism? The amygdala triggers anxiety as a way to protect us, but in modern life, it often misfires in non-threatening situations like work stress or social settings. We'll explore the science behind this response, different types of anxiety, and how environmental factors like social media can make things worse. But don't worry, I'll also share practical coping strategies from deep breathing and mindfulness to long-term solutions like therapy and lifestyle changes. Let's break it down and take control of anxiety together. To really understand anxiety, we first need to look at how our brain processes fear and stress. Anxiety isn't just a random feeling. It's deeply rooted in the brain's design. One of the key players in this process is a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. The amygdala's job is to scan for danger and activate the body's fight or flight response when it detects a threat. This response was incredibly useful for our ancestors, who had to react quickly to physical dangers like predators. But in today's world, where we don't face the same immediate threats, the amygdala can still be triggered by non-life-threatening situations, like a stressful meeting, social interactions, or even being late for an important event. Once the amygdala senses danger, it sends signals to the hypothalamus, which triggers the release of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones prepare your body to react, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense up, and your breathing becomes quicker, all to help you escape or confront the danger. But when this response is constantly activated in our daily lives, it can lead to chronic anxiety, which impacts both mental and physical health. So, in essence, anxiety is your brain's way of protecting you, but it can misfire in situations that aren't truly dangerous. This is why we can feel anxiety even when there's no real threat present. Now that we understand how the amygdala triggers anxiety, let's dive deeper into the role of other parts of the brain and how they work together to create the full experience of anxiety. Alongside the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking and decision-making, also plays a key role. In a healthy brain, the prefrontal cortex helps regulate the amygdala's responses, providing balance. It tells you, hey, this isn't a real danger, it's just a stressful situation. However, in people with anxiety disorders, this communication can break down. The prefrontal cortex becomes less effective at calming the amygdala, leading to heightened anxiety responses, even in relatively safe situations. Another area of the brain involved in anxiety is the hippocampus, which is associated with memory. The hippocampus helps us store and recall past experiences, which influences how we respond to future threats. If you've experienced a traumatic event or a particularly stressful situation, the hippocampus might store those memories with a heightened sense of fear. This can lead to something called hypervigilance, where you're constantly on alert, anticipating threats based on past experiences, even if they're unlikely to happen again. In addition to these structures, we also have to consider neurotransmitters, the brain's chemical messengers. The two most important in the context of anxiety are serotonin and GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. Serotonin helps regulate mood and anxiety levels, while GABA is responsible for calming down the brain's excitability. Low levels of either of these neurotransmitters can contribute to increased anxiety and stress. Together, these systems, amygdala, prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and neurotransmitters, create a feedback loop that can either help you manage stress or spiral into anxiety. When they're all functioning properly, the brain can evaluate threats, regulate fear, and return to a calm state. But when any part of this system is out of balance, anxiety can become chronic and overwhelming. The good news is that understanding how these systems work means we can also figure out ways to manage anxiety more effectively. Whether through therapy, medication, or lifestyle changes, we can target different parts of the brain to reduce anxiety and bring balance back to the nervous system. In this section, we will explore the different types of anxiety and their common symptoms. There are several types of anxiety disorders, and understanding each one can help in identifying and managing them better. First, we have generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. This type of anxiety is characterized by persistent and excessive worry about various aspects of life, such as work, health, or personal relationships. People with GAD often experience symptoms like restlessness, difficulty concentrating, muscle tension, and fatigue. These symptoms can interfere with daily activities and make even simple tasks feel overwhelming. Next is panic disorder. Panic disorder involves sudden and intense bursts of fear known as panic attacks. These attacks can occur unexpectedly and often bring physical symptoms such as heart palpitations, shortness of breath, dizziness, and a feeling of impending doom. Panic attacks are often so intense that they may be mistaken for heart attacks. In the next part, we'll discuss more types of anxiety, including social anxiety disorder and specific phobias. Now that we've discussed generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, and panic disorder, let's move on to two other common forms of anxiety: social anxiety disorder and specific phobias. First, social anxiety disorder, also known as social phobia, involves an intense fear of social situations where one may be judged or scrutinized by others. This goes beyond shyness. People with social anxiety often avoid public speaking, meeting new people, or even eating in front of others because they fear embarrassment or being judged. Common symptoms include excessive sweating, trembling, nausea, and a racing heart when faced with social situations. Over time, these fears can significantly affect a person's ability to function in everyday life, leading to isolation and difficulties in relationships or work. For instance, someone with social anxiety might avoid job interviews or social gatherings, which can limit career opportunities or personal growth. It's important to note that this anxiety isn't just temporary nervousness before a big event. It's a deep-rooted fear that can persist for months or even years if left untreated. Next, we have specific phobias. A specific phobia is an intense, irrational fear of a particular object, situation, or activity. Common examples include fear of heights, acrophobia, fear of flying, or fear of certain animals like spiders, arachnophobia. What makes a specific phobia different from general fear is the severity of the response. Even thinking about or briefly encountering the feared object can trigger a strong physical and emotional reaction. People may experience symptoms like sweating, dizziness, or a rapid heartbeat, and they often go to great lengths to avoid the object or situation that triggers their phobia. Unlike some other types of anxiety, specific phobias tend to focus on one or two areas, but can still cause significant distress and affect daily life. For example, someone with a fear of flying might avoid traveling altogether, limiting their personal or professional opportunities. So, to summarize, both social anxiety disorder and specific phobias can cause significant impairment in daily life. Social anxiety can create barriers in relationships and professional settings, while specific phobias can cause people to completely avoid certain situations. In the next section, we'll cover more types of anxiety, including obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which involve anxiety but manifest in more complex ways. We'll discuss two more complex anxiety-related conditions: obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Both of these disorders involve anxiety, but in more specific and often overwhelming ways. Let's start with obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. OCD is characterized by the presence of obsessions, compulsions, or both. Obsessions are unwanted, intrusive thoughts, urges, or images that repeatedly enter the mind. These thoughts often cause distress or anxiety. For example, someone might constantly worry that their hands are contaminated by germs, even if they've just washed them. This leads to compulsions, which are repetitive behaviors or mental acts that an individual feels driven to perform in response to the obsession. In the case of contamination fears, the compulsion might be washing hands repeatedly, sometimes for hours a day, to relieve the anxiety. Unfortunately, this cycle of obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors can take up a lot of time, making it difficult for someone with OCD to lead a normal life. Daily routines, work, and personal relationships can all be affected. It's important to remember that people with OCD usually know that their obsessions and compulsions are irrational, but they feel powerless to stop them, which further contributes to their anxiety and distress. Next, we have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which occurs after someone has experienced or witnessed a traumatic event. This could be anything from combat exposure, a serious accident, natural disaster, or personal assault. The hallmark symptom of PTSD is reliving the traumatic event through flashbacks or nightmares. This re-experiencing of trauma can happen unexpectedly and is often accompanied by physical reactions like sweating, a pounding heart, or feelings of panic. People with PTSD may also try to avoid places, people, or activities that remind them of the trauma, often withdrawing from friends and family. They may experience hypervigilance, where they are constantly on edge, easily startled, or have difficulty sleeping. Another common symptom is negative changes in mood or thinking, such as feelings of guilt, shame, or anger, often making it hard to enjoy life or connect with others. PTSD can be particularly debilitating because it not only affects how a person thinks and feels, but also how they interact with the world. Normal daily activities like going to work or spending time with loved ones can become incredibly difficult due to the constant mental and emotional burden of the trauma. In summary, both OCD and PTSD are severe anxiety disorders that deeply affect individuals. While OCD is centered around intrusive thoughts and repetitive behaviors, PTSD stems from trauma and involves reliving those experiences in distressing ways. Both disorders can significantly impact a person's quality of life but can be managed with proper treatment and support. In the next section, we'll wrap up by discussing other anxiety-related conditions, such as separation anxiety and health anxiety, along with some common symptoms across these disorders. We'll explore two additional anxiety-related conditions, separation anxiety and health anxiety. Though they are less commonly discussed, these types of anxiety can have a significant impact on individuals' daily lives. First, let's talk about separation anxiety disorder. This is often associated with children, but it can affect adults as well. Separation anxiety involves an intense fear or anxiety about being separated from a person to whom the individual is attached, often a parent, spouse, or significant caregiver. While it's natural to feel anxious when leaving loved ones for a short time, people with separation anxiety experience this fear in an exaggerated way. They may worry that something terrible will happen to their loved ones while they're apart, or that they themselves will be harmed, leading to permanent separation. For example, an adult with separation anxiety might feel extreme discomfort or even panic when their partner leaves for work or goes on a trip. This condition can cause people to avoid situations where they might be separated, impacting their ability to function independently. Physical symptoms like headaches, stomach aches, or dizziness may also occur when thinking about or experiencing separation. Next, we have health anxiety, also known as illness anxiety disorder. This is characterized by a preoccupation with having or developing a serious medical condition. Individuals with health anxiety often misinterpret normal bodily sensations or minor symptoms as signs of a severe illness, despite medical reassurance. They may frequently visit doctors, request multiple tests, or spend excessive time researching health conditions online. For instance, a person might experience a slight headache but immediately fear they have a brain tumor, even if medical tests show no problems. This constant worry can lead to significant distress and interfere with daily life. People with health anxiety may also avoid places or activities they believe will expose them to illness, or conversely, they might obsessively monitor their health, checking their body for signs of disease multiple times a day. Both separation anxiety and health anxiety can be overwhelming for those who experience them, causing physical symptoms like headaches, nausea, and trouble sleeping alongside the emotional strain. These forms of anxiety can also impact relationships, work, and overall quality of life if not properly addressed. In summary, while separation anxiety and health anxiety are distinct in their focus, one involving fear of being apart from loved ones and the other a fear of illness, both involve irrational worries that disrupt everyday functioning. Just like other anxiety disorders, these conditions can improve with therapy, coping strategies, and in some cases, medication. To conclude this section, we've covered a wide range of anxiety disorders, from generalized anxiety to more specific forms like social anxiety, OCD, and PTSD, along with separation and health anxiety. Although the symptoms of these disorders vary, they all share the common thread of causing excessive fear or worry that interferes with daily life. It's important to recognize that anxiety is a natural response, but when it becomes overwhelming or unmanageable, seeking help is the key to recovery and living a more balanced life. In this section, we'll explore how our environment plays a significant role in the development and intensity of anxiety. While genetics and biology contribute to anxiety disorders, environmental factors can trigger or exacerbate these conditions. In this first part, we'll focus on childhood experiences and family dynamics as key environmental influences. First, let's look at childhood experiences. Early life experiences can have a profound impact on the way we handle stress and anxiety later in life. Children who grow up in unstable or stressful environments are more likely to develop anxiety disorders. For example, experiences like neglect, abuse, or trauma can cause a child to feel unsafe, leading to long-term anxiety about their surroundings. If a child constantly faces fear or uncertainty, their brain may become wired to react with anxiety to future stressors. Children who face excessive pressure to perform academically or socially may also develop anxiety. When a child is constantly told they must be perfect or meet high expectations, they can develop a fear of failure or rejection. This fear can follow them into adulthood, where they may continue to feel anxious about not being good enough, whether it's at work, in relationships, or other areas of life. Next, let's discuss family dynamics. The family environment plays a crucial role in shaping a person's emotional and mental health. If a child grows up in a family where there is constant conflict, instability, or overprotection, it can lead to anxiety. Families that are overly critical or controlling may leave a person feeling incapable of handling challenges on their own. This can result in learned helplessness, where the individual believes they are unable to change their situation or manage stress effectively, leading to heightened anxiety. Overprotective parenting, while often well-intentioned, can also contribute to anxiety. When parents shield their children from every potential risk or challenge, the child doesn't learn how to cope with stress or uncertainty. This can lead to heightened anxiety as they grow older, because they've never had the chance to develop resilience or problem-solving skills. They might avoid taking risks or facing difficult situations, which further reinforces their anxiety. On the other hand, growing up in a family with anxiety disorders can also increase the likelihood of developing anxiety. Not only can genetics play a role, but children may also learn anxious behaviors by observing how their parents or family members react to stress. If a parent is highly anxious and constantly worries about danger, the child may adopt similar patterns of thinking, reinforcing their own anxiety in the process. In conclusion, both childhood experiences and family dynamics can significantly influence the development of anxiety. Whether it's exposure to trauma, excessive pressure, or growing up in an anxious household, these early environmental factors shape how we perceive and respond to stress throughout our lives. In the next section, we'll explore how other environmental factors, such as social and cultural influences, contribute to anxiety. We'll focus on how social and cultural influences shape anxiety. While personal experiences are important, the broader social and cultural context we live in also plays a significant role in shaping our mental health and anxiety levels. First, let's talk about social influences, particularly the pressure to conform to societal expectations. Modern society often places a strong emphasis on success, productivity, and social status. Whether it's achieving high academic performance, maintaining a successful career, or meeting beauty standards, the pressure to live up to these ideals can create significant stress. Social media amplifies this pressure by constantly presenting curated images of perfection. People often compare themselves to others and feel anxious if they believe they're not measuring up. This phenomenon, often called social comparison, is a major source of anxiety, especially for younger generations. For instance, someone might see images of their peers traveling, enjoying their lives, or achieving career milestones and feel like they're falling behind. This constant comparison can lead to feelings of inadequacy, low self-esteem, and ultimately anxiety. The fear of missing out, or FOMO, is another social pressure that contributes to anxiety, as people feel stressed about not participating in or experiencing the same things as others. In addition to social comparison, workplace stress is a major factor. In many cultures, success is often tied to long working hours, constant availability, and high productivity. The demand to meet deadlines, maintain job security, or achieve promotions can cause chronic stress, leading to burnout and anxiety. In highly competitive work environments, the fear of failure or being replaced can drive people to overwork, which further fuels anxiety. Next, let's consider cultural influences. Different cultures have varying attitudes toward mental health, and these attitudes can either alleviate or exacerbate anxiety. In cultures where mental health issues are stigmatized, individuals may feel pressured to suppress their anxiety, fearing that they will be judged or misunderstood. This can prevent them from seeking help or sharing their struggles, which leads to feelings of isolation and worsening anxiety. For example, in some cultures, there is a strong emphasis on maintaining a positive outward image. People may feel compelled to hide their anxiety or any perceived weakness in order to fit societal expectations. This creates a cycle where individuals feel anxious about their anxiety, fearing that others might notice and judge them. Without proper support or the freedom to express their concerns, anxiety can escalate. On the other hand, some cultures promote a strong sense of community and support, which can act as a buffer against anxiety. For example, cultures that emphasize family and community bonds may provide emotional support networks, which help individuals cope with stress and anxiety more effectively. A sense of belonging and social connection is a protective factor against anxiety, as it gives people a support system to rely on during difficult times. Cultural factors also shape the way people perceive and handle stress. In some cultures, there is a greater acceptance of stress as a normal part of life, while in others, the focus is more on individual well-being and mental health. How a culture defines success, failure, and coping strategies will influence whether people feel empowered to manage their anxiety or pressured by societal norms. In summary, both social and cultural influences play a significant role in anxiety. Social pressures, such as the need to succeed and fit societal standards, along with the added effects of social media and workplace stress, contribute to heightened anxiety. Cultural attitudes toward mental health and stress management also determine how individuals cope with anxiety, either helping them seek support or making them feel isolated. In the next part, we'll explore environmental stressors such as urbanization, technology, and economic factors that contribute to anxiety. In this section, we'll begin discussing some effective coping strategies for managing anxiety. The first and perhaps most important step in dealing with anxiety is understanding that it's a natural response to stress. It's not something to be ashamed of, but rather something that can be managed with the right tools. In this part, we'll focus on two foundational coping strategies: awareness and breathing techniques. First, awareness is key. Many people go through life not fully recognizing their anxiety or the triggers that cause it. Learning to identify when anxiety is starting to build is the first step toward managing it. This can be done through self-reflection or journaling. Taking a few moments each day to note how you're feeling, what thoughts are going through your mind, and what situations or people seem to trigger your anxiety can help you gain a better understanding of your emotional patterns. Once you're aware of your anxiety and its triggers, you can begin to practice mindful management. One of the simplest and most effective tools for calming immediate feelings of anxiety is breathing exercises. When we're anxious, our body goes into fight or flight mode, causing shallow breathing and increased heart rate. Controlled breathing techniques can help reverse this response by activating the body's relaxation system. One effective breathing exercise is called deep diaphragmatic breathing. To do this, you take slow, deep breaths from your diaphragm rather than shallow breaths from your chest. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, hold a breath for 4 counts, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. Repeating this process for a few minutes can significantly reduce physical symptoms of anxiety, such as a racing heart or tense muscles. In addition to deep breathing, another simple but powerful technique is box breathing, where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold your breath again for 4 seconds before repeating the cycle. These techniques can help in moments of acute anxiety by slowing your heart rate and calming your mind. To sum up, the first step to coping with anxiety is increasing your awareness of it through self-reflection and journaling. Once you recognize when anxiety arises, you can use breathing exercises like deep diaphragmatic breathing and box breathing to regain control over your physical and emotional responses. In the next part, we'll explore the role of physical activity and lifestyle changes in managing anxiety. We'll focus on how physical activity and lifestyle changes can help in managing anxiety. While anxiety often feels like it's purely a mental or emotional issue, our bodies play a crucial role in how we experience and cope with it. Incorporating physical activity and making certain lifestyle adjustments can significantly reduce anxiety symptoms. Let's start with physical activity. Exercise is one of the most effective natural ways to reduce anxiety. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, which are chemicals that improve mood and reduce stress. Even simple forms of exercise like walking, swimming, or stretching can have a calming effect. Regular physical activity helps regulate your body's stress response by lowering your levels of stress hormones, such as cortisol, and promoting relaxation. In addition to the biochemical benefits, exercise also provides a mental break from anxious thoughts. Engaging in activities like running, yoga, or cycling helps shift your focus away from the sources of stress and onto your body and movement, which can be grounding and calming. You don't need to engage in intense exercise either. Even 20 to 30 minutes of moderate activity a few times a week can make a big difference in managing anxiety over the long term. Next, let's talk about lifestyle changes. One important factor in managing anxiety is creating a balanced routine that supports both mental and physical health. Sleep plays a critical role in this. Anxiety often causes sleep disturbances, and poor sleep, in turn, can worsen anxiety, creating a vicious cycle. Making sure you get enough quality sleep, aiming for 7 to 9 hours a night, can greatly reduce anxiety symptoms. Establishing a calming bedtime routine, such as avoiding screens before bed or practicing relaxation techniques, can help improve sleep quality. Diet also plays a role in managing anxiety. What we eat affects how we feel, both physically and mentally. For example, reducing your intake of caffeine and sugar can help stabilize your mood and energy levels. Caffeine, in particular, can worsen anxiety by increasing heart rate and triggering nervousness. On the other hand, a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins provides the nutrients your brain needs to function optimally and manage stress. In summary, regular physical activity and healthy lifestyle habits, such as proper sleep and balanced nutrition, are key components of managing anxiety. Exercise releases mood-enhancing chemicals and provides a mental break, while improving sleep and diet helps stabilize your overall well-being. In the next part, we'll explore how cognitive techniques, such as challenging negative thoughts, can help reduce anxiety. In this part, we'll focus on cognitive techniques for managing anxiety, particularly the strategy of challenging negative thoughts. Anxiety often stems from distorted thinking patterns, where our mind jumps to worst-case scenarios or magnifies problems beyond their actual scale. By learning to identify and challenge these negative thoughts, we can reduce the intensity of our anxiety. One of the most effective cognitive techniques is known as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. A core element of CBT is recognizing negative automatic thoughts that trigger anxiety. These are often irrational thoughts that don't reflect reality, but feel real in the moment. For example, someone might think, I'm going to fail this presentation, and everyone will think I'm incompetent, even if they've successfully given presentations in the past. These types of thoughts can cause unnecessary stress and anxiety. To challenge these thoughts, the first step is to become aware of them. When you notice yourself feeling anxious, ask yourself, what exactly am I thinking right now? What is the worst-case scenario that's going through my mind? This helps bring those automatic thoughts to the surface where they can be examined. Once you've identified the thought, the next step is to question its validity. Ask yourself, is this thought based on facts or assumptions? What evidence do I have to support this? Often, you'll find that the worst-case scenario you're imagining is unlikely or exaggerated. For instance, in the example of the presentation, you might realize that you've received positive feedback before, or that even if you make a small mistake, it's unlikely to have serious consequences. Another helpful technique is reframing the thought in a more realistic or positive way. Instead of thinking, I'm going to fail, you might replace it with, I prepared for this presentation, and even if I stumble, I can recover and do well. This more balanced way of thinking can significantly reduce anxiety by shifting your focus from disaster scenarios to more practical and manageable outcomes. Lastly, problem solving is another cognitive strategy that can help manage anxiety. If a particular situation is causing anxiety, try breaking it down into smaller, more manageable steps. By focusing on what you can control and developing a plan, you reduce the feeling of being overwhelmed, which often accompanies anxiety. In summary, cognitive techniques like identifying and challenging negative thoughts, reframing them into more realistic scenarios, and focusing on problem solving are effective ways to reduce anxiety. In the next part, we'll discuss how mindfulness and relaxation techniques can further help in managing anxious feelings. In this part, we'll discuss the role of mindfulness and relaxation techniques in managing anxiety. Mindfulness is a powerful tool that helps bring our attention to the present moment, allowing us to step away from anxious thoughts about the future or past. Paired with relaxation techniques, mindfulness can significantly reduce the physical and emotional symptoms of anxiety. Let's start with mindfulness. Anxiety often pulls us into worrying about future events or replaying past experiences, which intensifies stress. Mindfulness teaches us to focus on here and now by paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations without judgment. One effective way to practice mindfulness is through mindful breathing. In a moment of anxiety, try to focus on your breath, how it feels as you inhale and exhale, while letting anxious thoughts pass without engaging with them. By anchoring your mind to the present, you can prevent it from spiraling into worry. A more formal practice of mindfulness is mindfulness meditation. This involves sitting quietly, focusing on your breath or a word, a mantra, and gently bringing your attention back whenever your mind starts to wander. Studies have shown that regular mindfulness meditation can lower stress and anxiety levels, improving overall emotional well-being. Next, we'll explore progressive muscle relaxation, PMR, which helps reduce the physical tension that accompanies anxiety. In PMR, you focus on tensing and then slowly relaxing each muscle group in your body, starting from your toes and moving up to your head. This method helps calm the body and mind, promoting relaxation and reducing anxiety symptoms such as muscle tightness and a racing heart. Another technique is guided imagery, where you visualize peaceful, calming scenes in your mind, such as a quiet beach or a serene forest. This mental escape helps shift your focus away from anxious thoughts and into a state of relaxation. You can practice guided imagery on your own or with the help of audio recordings that walk you through a calming scenario step by step. Lastly, body scanning is a mindfulness technique where you slowly pay attention to different parts of your body, noting any tension or discomfort without trying to change it. This helps increase awareness of how anxiety manifests physically and creates an opportunity to relax each area of the body mindfully. In summary, mindfulness and relaxation techniques such as mindful breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, guided imagery, and body scanning offer practical ways to calm the mind and body. These methods help manage the physical and emotional symptoms of anxiety by grounding you in the present moment and promoting relaxation. In the next part, we'll discuss how social support and professional help can further assist in coping with anxiety. In this final part, we'll talk about the importance of social support and when to seek professional help in managing anxiety. While personal coping strategies like mindfulness and cognitive techniques are helpful, having a support system and knowing when to seek outside help are equally crucial. First, let's focus on the role of social support. Anxiety can feel isolating, but connecting with others can provide comfort and relief. Talking about your feelings with a trusted friend, family member, or partner can help you process emotions and gain perspective. Often, simply sharing what's on your mind reduces the burden of anxiety. Supportive relationships give you a sense of belonging and reassurance, which can ease anxious feelings. Joining a support group can also be beneficial, especially if you feel like people around you don't fully understand your struggles with anxiety. In support groups, whether in person or online, you can connect with others who are going through similar experiences. Hearing their stories and learning about how they cope with anxiety can offer new insights and help you feel less alone. However, there are times when anxiety may become too overwhelming to manage on your own, and this is when seeking professional help is important. If anxiety is affecting your daily life, work, or relationships, or if you find it difficult to cope despite trying different strategies, it may be time to consult a mental health professional. A therapist can help you work through your anxiety by using evidence-based treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which focuses on changing negative thought patterns and behaviors. In some cases, medication might also be recommended to help manage anxiety symptoms. Anti-anxiety medications such as benzodiazepines or antidepressants can be prescribed by a psychiatrist to provide relief, especially when anxiety is severe or debilitating. Medication can be a temporary or long-term option, depending on your individual needs and the advice of your healthcare provider. Lastly, professional support might also include alternative therapies like biofeedback, which teaches you how to control your body's physical reactions to stress, or exposure therapy, which gradually helps you face and overcome anxiety triggers in a controlled environment. In conclusion, while self-care strategies are essential for managing anxiety, social support from friends, family, and support groups can make a huge difference. Additionally, knowing when to seek professional help, whether through therapy or medication, is key to ensuring long-term management and recovery. By combining personal coping tools with external support, you can build a more comprehensive strategy for dealing with anxiety. In this section, we'll explore real-life stories of individuals who have faced anxiety and found ways to overcome it. Hearing personal accounts of triumph over anxiety can inspire hope and remind us that with the right support and strategies, managing anxiety is possible. In this first part, I'll share the story of someone who overcame social anxiety through persistence and support. Let's take the example of Sarah, a woman in her early 30s who struggled with social anxiety for most of her life. From a young age, she found social interactions overwhelming, whether it was speaking in front of her classmates or even attending family gatherings. The thought of being judged or criticized in social settings made her avoid these situations altogether. As a result, she felt isolated, missed out on opportunities, and her self-esteem suffered. Sarah reached a breaking point when her social anxiety began affecting her career. She avoided meetings, refused presentations, and declined social events, which held her back professionally. At this point, she decided to seek help. She started therapy, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which helped her identify the negative thought patterns fueling her anxiety. Sarah worked on reframing her thoughts, learning to challenge her fears of being judged and gradually exposing herself to social situations. She also practiced mindfulness techniques and deep breathing exercises, which allowed her to stay calm during social interactions. Over time, Sarah began to attend small social gatherings, speak up in meetings, and even volunteered for a presentation at work. Though the process was slow, her consistent effort and the support of her therapist helped her reclaim control over her social anxiety. Sarah's story shows that overcoming anxiety doesn't happen overnight, but with persistence and the right tools, it is possible. Her journey highlights the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone, seeking professional support, and being patient with yourself. In the next part, we'll look at another real-life story, this time focusing on someone who managed to overcome panic disorder. In this part, we'll share another real-life story, this time about Mark, a man in his mid-40s who overcame panic disorder. Panic disorder involves sudden and repeated panic attacks, which can be extremely distressing and debilitating. Mark's journey shows that even when anxiety feels overwhelming, it's possible to regain control with the right approach. Mark had his first panic attack while driving home from work. Out of nowhere, he felt his heart racing, shortness of breath, dizziness, and an overwhelming fear that he was about to die. Thinking he was having a heart attack, Mark rushed to the emergency room, only to be told that his heart was fine. After multiple trips to the doctor and numerous tests, he finally received a diagnosis of panic disorder. The attacks didn't stop after the diagnosis, though. Mark began avoiding situations where he feared he might have another attack, like driving, going to crowded places, or even leaving the house alone. His life became increasingly restricted. The unpredictability of the attacks caused him constant fear, making everyday activities feel impossible. Determined to break free from the grip of panic disorder, Mark sought help from a therapist who specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and exposure therapy. In therapy, Mark learned about the cycle of panic, how his fear of having another panic attack was actually contributing to the problem. He worked on gradually exposing himself to situations he had been avoiding, starting with small steps, like short drives close to home, and building up to longer trips. He also learned breathing techniques and progressive muscle relaxation to help calm his body during moments of panic. Over time, Mark realized that panic attacks, while uncomfortable, were not life-threatening, and he began to regain confidence in facing his fears. Although it took time, Mark eventually got back to his normal routine. He could drive to work again, go to public places, and even travel, all without the overwhelming fear of another attack. His story shows that with persistence, therapy, and a willingness to face anxiety head-on, panic disorder can be managed and even overcome. Mark's experience highlights the power of professional help and gradual exposure in overcoming anxiety. His journey is a reminder that, no matter how intense the fear feels in the moment, it doesn't have to control your life forever. When it comes to anxiety, there are many misconceptions that can prevent people from understanding it properly or seeking the help they need. In this part, we'll explore some common myths about anxiety and compare them with the actual facts. By debunking these myths, we can shed light on the reality of anxiety disorders and how they can be managed. One of the most common myths is that anxiety is just stress and that it's something everyone should be able to handle on their own. The fact is, while stress and anxiety share some similarities, they are not the same. Stress is usually a response to an external event or pressure, and it tends to go away once the situation is resolved. Anxiety, on the other hand, is a more persistent feeling of worry or fear that doesn't necessarily go away when the external stressor is removed. Anxiety disorders are a medical condition that can interfere with daily life and often require professional treatment to manage effectively. Another common myth is that anxiety disorders aren't real. It's all in your head. This myth can be incredibly damaging, as it implies that anxiety is something imagined or exaggerated. The fact is, anxiety disorders are very real and are recognized as legitimate mental health conditions. They affect not only the mind but also the body, with symptoms like increased heart rate, sweating, difficulty breathing, and muscle tension. Brain imaging studies have shown that people with anxiety disorders have differences in brain activity and chemical balances compared to those without the disorder. Anxiety is not simply a matter of thinking positively. It often requires a comprehensive approach involving therapy, coping strategies, and sometimes medication. A third myth is that people with anxiety should just avoid situations that make them anxious. While it might seem like avoiding triggers is the best way to deal with anxiety, this can actually make the condition worse over time. The fact is, avoidance reinforces fear and limits a person's ability to cope with anxiety in the long term. A key part of managing anxiety is learning how to face these fears gradually through techniques like exposure therapy, where individuals confront their anxiety-inducing situations in a controlled and gradual way. This helps them build resilience and reduces the intensity of the anxiety over time. Lastly, there is a widespread belief that children can't have anxiety disorders. They're just going through a phase. The fact is, anxiety can affect people of all ages, including children. Childhood anxiety disorders are very real and can manifest in a variety of ways, such as excessive worry, fear of social situations, or separation anxiety. Early intervention is crucial, as untreated anxiety in childhood can continue into adulthood, affecting academic performance, social development, and overall well-being. Recognizing the signs of anxiety in children and seeking professional help is essential for their mental health. In summary, anxiety is much more than just stress, and it is not something that can be wished away or ignored. By understanding the facts about anxiety and debunking these myths, we can promote a healthier, more compassionate view of this condition and encourage those who suffer from it to seek help. In the next part, we'll address more myths, including misconceptions about treatment and how people cope with anxiety. In this part, we'll continue to debunk more myths about anxiety, particularly those related to treatment and coping mechanisms. Addressing these misconceptions is important for understanding the complexity of anxiety and how best to approach managing it. One common myth is that medication is the only way to treat anxiety. While medication can be a helpful part of treatment, it's not the only solution, nor is it always necessary. The fact is, anxiety is often treated most effectively with a combination of approaches. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for instance, is one of the most well-researched and effective treatments for anxiety. It helps people identify and challenge their negative thought patterns, replacing them with healthier ways of thinking. For many, therapy alone is enough to manage anxiety. However, when symptoms are severe, medication, such as antidepressants or anti-anxiety drugs, can be used alongside therapy to help reduce symptoms. The key is that treatment should be tailored to the individual, and many people can successfully manage anxiety without relying solely on medication. Another misconception is that if you have anxiety, you just need to calm down. This myth oversimplifies the complexity of anxiety disorders. The fact is, telling someone to just calm down is rarely helpful and can actually make them feel misunderstood or dismissed. Anxiety is not something that can be turned off like a switch. It involves both emotional and physiological responses that aren't always within a person's control. Effective coping strategies take time and practice. Techniques like mindfulness, relaxation exercises, or breathing techniques can help reduce anxiety in the moment, but managing anxiety is often a long-term process that requires understanding and support. There's also the myth that anxiety means weakness. Many people mistakenly believe that struggling with anxiety is a sign of personal weakness or that they're failing to cope with life's challenges. This couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is, anxiety is a common mental health condition that affects people from all walks of life, where they are highly successful, resilient, or going through personal challenges. Anxiety has nothing to do with strength or weakness. It's a medical condition that requires attention, just like any physical illness. In fact, many people with anxiety demonstrate incredible strength by continuing to work, maintain relationships, and pursue their goals despite their internal struggles. Another damaging myth is that you have to avoid stress completely to manage anxiety. While reducing unnecessary stress is important, The fact is, avoiding stress altogether isn't realistic, nor is it the healthiest way to manage anxiety. Life naturally comes with stress, and learning how to cope with it effectively is a crucial part of managing anxiety. The goal isn't to eliminate stress, but to develop tools to handle it in a healthier way. This might involve stress management techniques like time management, setting boundaries, or practicing self-care. Avoiding stress completely can lead to avoidance behaviors, which may worsen anxiety in the long run. Finally, there's the myth that anxiety can be cured completely. While some people may find their anxiety significantly reduced through treatment, it's important to recognize that anxiety is a natural part of life. Everyone experiences anxiety to some degree, and for those with anxiety disorders, the goal of treatment is usually management, not a permanent cure. The fact is, anxiety can be managed so that it no longer interferes with daily life, but it's unlikely to disappear entirely. With the right strategies, most people can lead fulfilling lives even with occasional anxiety. In summary, effective anxiety management is often a combination of therapy, coping strategies, and, when needed, medication. Anxiety is not a sign of weakness, nor is it something that can simply be turned off. With the right tools and support, it's possible to live a balanced life, even while managing anxiety. By understanding the myths and facts about anxiety, we can better support ourselves and others in finding the help needed. As we conclude our journey through understanding anxiety, it's essential to reflect on what we've covered and focus on some final tips for managing anxiety in everyday life. Anxiety is a complex and multifaceted condition, but the key takeaway is that it's highly treatable, and there are many tools available to help reduce its impact. Let's first summarize some of the core ideas. We've discussed that anxiety can arise from a variety of factors: genetic, environmental, and social, and that it manifests in different ways from generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, to panic disorder, social anxiety, and more. We've also examined how anxiety impacts both the mind and body, leading to emotional and physical symptoms that can interfere with daily functioning. However, we've also learned that there are effective coping strategies that can help manage anxiety. One of the most important things to remember is that awareness is the first step toward managing anxiety. When you become aware of your anxiety triggers and patterns, you can take proactive steps to address them. It's helpful to keep a journal or log of your thoughts and feelings. Tracking when and where your anxiety is most intense can help you identify patterns and situations that tend to trigger it. Once you're aware of these triggers, you can begin developing strategies to deal with them before they escalate. Next, consider incorporating breathing techniques and relaxation exercises into your daily routine. We've talked about the importance of deep breathing exercises, such as diaphragmatic breathing, and how they help regulate your body's stress response. Even just 5 minutes of focused breathing can calm the nervous system, reducing the physical symptoms of anxiety like rapid heart rate and shallow breathing. Progressive muscle relaxation and guided imagery are other helpful techniques that can be used to relax your body and mind. Another key strategy is to maintain a balanced lifestyle. This means paying attention to the basics of mental and physical well-being, such as getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, and eating a nutritious diet. Regular physical activity, even something as simple as a daily walk, can reduce stress and improve mood. Sleep is also critical. Poor sleep habits can intensify anxiety, so it's important to establish a calming bedtime routine. Minimizing stimulants like caffeine, which can exacerbate anxiety symptoms, is also a good idea. Let's not forget the value of social support. Anxiety can often feel isolating, but connecting with others, whether it's friends, family, or support groups, can provide an essential emotional outlet. Sharing your experiences with people who understand can help you feel less alone and provide practical advice for managing anxious moments. Reaching out for support is not a sign of weakness. It's a strength that fosters connection and healing. Finally, one of the best ways to combat anxiety is to challenge negative thinking. Anxiety often distorts reality, leading us to imagine the worst-case scenarios. When these thoughts arise, it's important to ask yourself whether they're based on facts or assumptions. Often, anxiety makes situations seem more dire than they really are. Reframing these thoughts and practicing positive self-talk can help shift your mindset and reduce anxious feelings. In the next part, we'll dive into more specific tips and resources for managing anxiety and discuss when it's time to seek professional help. Now that we've explored the foundational strategies for managing anxiety, let's focus on more specific tips and when it might be time to seek professional help. While personal coping techniques are essential, sometimes anxiety can become overwhelming and require a more structured approach. In this part, we'll look at additional tools to help manage anxiety and highlight the importance of knowing when to reach out for extra support. First, let's talk about time management and organization. Anxiety can often stem from feeling overwhelmed by tasks and responsibilities. Developing strong organizational skills can help reduce the feeling of being out of control. One practical tip is to use lists and schedules to break down larger tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. For example, creating a daily or weekly to-do list can give you a clear sense of what needs to be done and help prioritize tasks in order of importance. By focusing on one thing at a time, rather than trying to tackle everything at once, you can reduce the mental clutter that often leads to anxiety. Another valuable tool is setting boundaries. Many people experience anxiety because they take on too many responsibilities, whether at work, in relationships, or in other areas of life. Learning to say no to extra commitments when your plate is full is essential for protecting your mental health. Setting clear boundaries with others, whether that's reducing overtime at work or limiting social engagements, can help create a sense of balance and reduce stress. Remember, it's okay to prioritize your well-being. Technology use is another factor to consider in managing anxiety. In today's digital world, we're constantly bombarded by notifications, emails, and social media. This can easily fuel anxiety, especially when we feel the pressure to respond immediately or when we compare our lives to the curated, often unrealistic portrayals on social media. Setting boundaries with technology, such as limiting screen time or designating specific times during the day to check emails, can help reduce the mental overload that contributes to anxiety. Taking breaks from screens, especially before bedtime, can improve sleep quality, which in turn reduces anxiety. Now, let's discuss when it's important to seek professional help. While self-care strategies are effective, there are times when anxiety becomes too intense to handle on your own. If you find that your anxiety is significantly affecting your ability to function in daily life, whether it's disrupting your sleep, causing you to avoid important responsibilities, or affecting your relationships, it's important to reach out to a mental health professional. A therapist can help you explore the root causes of your anxiety and work with you to develop personalized coping strategies. One of the most effective therapies for anxiety is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which focuses on identifying and changing negative thought patterns that fuel anxiety. In CBT, you learn to challenge distorted thinking and gradually expose yourself to anxiety-inducing situations in a safe, controlled way. For many people, this type of therapy provides long-term relief from anxiety. In some cases, medication may be recommended by a healthcare professional. Medications such as antidepressants or anti-anxiety drugs can be used temporarily or on an ongoing basis, depending on the severity of the anxiety and the individual's needs. While medication can help reduce symptoms, it's usually most effective when combined with therapy and other lifestyle changes. Finally, don't forget the value of support networks. Joining a support group, whether in person or online, can provide a space to share your experiences with others who understand what you're going through. This sense of community can reduce feelings of isolation and provide encouragement, practical tips, and emotional support as you work through your anxiety. In the next part, we'll wrap up with some final reflections on managing anxiety long-term and how to maintain a balanced, anxiety-free life. As we come to the final part of our discussion on managing anxiety, it's important to reflect on some key takeaways and practical advice for maintaining long-term well-being. Anxiety is a normal part of life, and while it can be overwhelming at times, with the right strategies, it's possible to live a balanced and fulfilling life even when anxiety is present. First, it's crucial to remember that managing anxiety is a continuous process. There's no quick fix or one-size-fits-all solution, and that's okay. Anxiety management often involves a combination of tools, self-care practices, mindfulness, therapy, and sometimes medication. What works for one person might not work for another, so it's essential to remain patient with yourself as you find the best methods that suit your lifestyle and individual needs. One of the most powerful long-term strategies is to embrace resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from difficult situations, and building resilience is key to managing anxiety in the long run. This means learning to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities for growth. When anxiety arises, instead of avoiding it, try to face it head-on with the tools you've developed. Over time, as you build resilience, anxiety will have less power over your day-to-day life. Another important factor is to maintain self-compassion. Anxiety can often bring feelings of frustration, guilt, or even shame, especially if it feels like it's holding you back. Remember to treat yourself with kindness and understanding, just as you would a friend going through a difficult time. Acknowledge that it's okay to have bad days and setbacks. Managing anxiety is a journey, not a destination, and setbacks don't mean failure. They are a normal part of the process. Practicing self-compassion can help reduce the additional stress of self-criticism and improve your emotional resilience. It's also helpful to create a sustainable self-care routine. Self-care goes beyond occasional relaxation. It involves consistent habits that support your overall well-being. This includes getting enough rest, eating nutritious meals, exercising regularly, and finding time for activities that bring you joy. Maintaining a healthy balance between work, social life, and personal time is essential in preventing burnout and keeping anxiety in check. Remember that rest is as important as productivity. Taking time to recharge is not only beneficial but necessary for managing stress and anxiety in the long term. Moreover, continue to practice mindfulness and relaxation techniques. These strategies, such as deep breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, or meditation, can be integrated into your daily routine. Mindfulness helps you stay grounded in the present moment and reduces the tendency to get lost in anxious thoughts about the future. These techniques don't just work in moments of acute anxiety. They can help maintain a general sense of calm and clarity throughout the day. Lastly, be open to seeking support when needed. Whether it's reaching out to a therapist for additional guidance, joining a support group, or simply talking to a friend or family member, having a support system is invaluable. Anxiety can feel isolating, but you don't have to go through it alone. Sharing your experiences with others who understand can make a significant difference in how you cope with anxiety. In conclusion, anxiety is a challenge, but it's one that can be managed with the right mindset and tools. By building resilience, practicing self-compassion, maintaining a self-care routine, and seeking support when needed, you can keep anxiety in check and live a more balanced, fulfilling life. Remember that progress might be slow at times, but every small step forward counts. The journey of managing anxiety is ongoing, but with persistence and care, it's entirely possible to thrive. If you're enjoying the content and want to keep the good vibes going, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to stay updated with everything I'm sharing. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me create even more awesome videos for you. Plus, when you like this video, it really boosts my motivation and shows me what you love to see. So, if you're finding value in what I'm doing, take a second to subscribe and give that thumbs up. It's a small action that makes a huge difference. Let's keep this community growing together. The names and identities of any patients mentioned in this video have been changed to protect their privacy in accordance with ethical guidelines. These stories are based on real-life experiences, but been altered to ensure confidentiality. It's important to note that the information shared in this video is for informational purposes only and should not be considered professional medical advice. While I aim to provide helpful insights, the strategies and techniques discussed may not be suitable for everyone. If you are struggling with anxiety or any other mental health issue, it is essential to consult a licensed healthcare professional for personalized advice and treatment. Each individual's experience with anxiety is unique, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Please consider the tips and strategies in this video as general guidance, and work with your healthcare provider to determine what works best for your specific situation. Thank you for watching, and remember, mental health is a journey that often requires professional support and tailored approaches. In the realm of legal practice, the importance of a well-crafted disclaimer cannot be overstated. A disclaimer serves as a protective shield, clarifying the limits of liability and ensuring that clients understand the scope of your services. It's not merely a formality, it's a critical component of risk management. Consider this: a clear disclaimer can prevent misunderstandings that might lead to costly litigation. It delineates the boundaries of your professional advice, ensuring clients are aware that their decisions ultimately rest with them. Moreover, a robust disclaimer fosters transparency, building trust in your client relationships. It communicates your commitment to ethical practice while safeguarding your firm's reputation. Remember, in the legal field, clarity is not just a courtesy, it's a necessity. A well-articulated disclaimer is your first line of defense in a complex legal landscape. What is the To Psychology and Psychiatry YouTube channel? Your go-to place for everything related to mental health, psychology, and psychiatry. On this channel, we dive deep into the fascinating world of the mind. Whether you're curious about how the brain works, how to manage anxiety and depression, just want to learn more about mental health, you're in the right place. I'm your name, psychiatrist/psychologist, and my goal is to bring you valuable insights from both the fields of psychology and psychiatry to help you better understand yourself and those around you. Here's what you can expect from the channel: mental health tips. Learn practical strategies to manage anxiety, stress, depression, and other emotional challenges. We break down complex topics into easy to follow steps so you can apply them in your everyday life. Therapeutic approaches. Curious about how therapy works? From cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, to mindfulness practices, we'll explore different approaches that are used to treat mental health conditions. Psychiatry insights. As a licensed professional, I'll provide expert advice on the latest treatments in psychiatry, including the role of medications in mental health care and when it's time to seek professional help. Real-life stories. We'll share inspiring stories of individuals who have overcome mental health challenges. These real-life examples will help show that no one is alone in their journey toward mental well-being. Q&A sessions. Got questions about mental health? I'll be answering some of the most commonly asked questions and providing clear, science-backed answers. Whether you're a mental health professional, someone seeking support, or simply interested in learning more about the field, this channel is designed for everyone. I believe that mental health matters, and with the right knowledge and tools, we can all work toward a healthier, more balanced life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Hit the like button and share these videos with anyone who might benefit. I'm excited to take this journey with you, where we explore the mind and learn ways to live our best lives. Remember, taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. Let's work together to make mental well-being a priority. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to sharing this journey with you.